Hi, St. Mark's. A few weeks ago, we began our Better Angels training. It's a training designed to help people on both sides of the political spectrum be able to talk to each other through the polarization that our country is experiencing. And we brought this to the church because we thought it would be the appropriate job for the church to help us shoot some love and understanding back into those conversations that are very difficult sometimes. So we got through the first of 4 sessions. All of the stuff we covered is going to be attached in a PDF to this video file. And so you can go back and look through what we covered because it may be a little blurry after all that we've been through. But what we are going to do the second week is talk about listening skills. So I'm going to cover those for you in a video. The thing that we won't be able to do together is to practice them. And so maybe you can work on these at home or on the phone with someone that you trust and feel good practicing this with. And if you have any questions or comments that you want to email me about, I would love to hear how you experienced it. So we're going to walk through the listening skills that will be attached in the PDF to this video. So let's assume that you found somebody that you want to talk to, somebody on the opposite side of the political spectrum that you trust, that is willing to try out a new form of communication with you. And you've set the tone and you're going to be really responsive and open to this person. And so now you've started asking them questions. And so these 4 skills that we're going to talk about today, I think it's 4, maybe it's 3 skills, are the skills that you need to hold in your mind as you listen to the person's answers to your questions. And so the first skill is paraphrasing. You probably know this skill from other active listening training you've done in your life, but have you ever thought to apply it to politics? It's very difficult to do sometimes. So paraphrasing is where you make sure that you understand what the other person is saying and that the other person feels heard. You're going to repeat back to them what they've said, basically. And at the end of it, make sure you listen for yes, that's what I'm saying from the other person, or for them to say, no, that's not quite what I'm saying, and to rephrase it again. So let me give you some examples to help you understand what I'm talking about. So if I am say I'm a Republican, I'm a red, and I have just asked a blue some questions about how they feel about Trump, then I would just sum up for them by saying something like, so for you, Trump is a big threat to the country. And you stop there. Or if they've been talking about Medicare for all, and as a Republican, that may not be something that I agree with, but I'm listening for understanding from them. Then I would say back to them, so you're saying that Medicare for all is the best way to get medical coverage for everyone. And that's it. Right? You don't have to agree or disagree. You're not going to critique or offer any of your own further ideas or judgments at this point. This is how you listen. So on the flip side, say I'm a Democrat and I'm listening to a Republican and I've asked them some questions about health care and they've given me their answers. I would just say something like, so you're saying that you don't trust the federal government on health care because you think they're probably going to mess it up. Is that right? And they'll either tell you if that's what they said or not. Or if you had asked them how they feel about Trump, you would just say back to them, this might be how you sum up what they said. So you wish Trump didn't tweet so much, but he's there to shake things up in Washington, and you like that. And that's where you stop. So just remember, when you're paraphrasing, don't suggest any implications or critiques about their comments. Like what you wouldn't say is, so you're saying that the president's character doesn't matter, right? That's not going to be helpful to this conversation. You're adding your own input onto that. Or you're saying Trump can't possibly learn on the job, right? Those aren't helpful types of statements. When you're paraphrasing, you're just saying back to the person what they said. All right, so the second skill when you're listening is to ask real questions of understanding versus loaded questions. And this may sound simple, but it is extremely difficult to do. We are not trained in how to ask questions of understanding. And I think at the bottom of this skill is to check yourself and see if you're actually really curious about hearing what the other person wants to say. So if you've engaged somebody in a conversation, are you really curious about hearing their point of view? That's got to be the place in our hearts and in our minds that we operate from if we're going to ask a real question of understanding. Because a question of understanding means you want to understand the person. You're not trying to corner them with a gotcha question that's going to back them up against a wall. This is how conversations get better with somebody on the opposite side of the political spectrum. So if I was a red and I wanted to find out from a blue how they feel about Black Lives Matter, for example, I might ask a question to really be curious and say, so do you see Black Lives Matter helping or hurting things in cities? That's a real neutral kind of a question. A gotcha question would be, so do you see attacking the police as the solution? Very different tone and very different feel. So that's what you don't want to do. That's a gotcha question. Or if I was a blue and I was asking a red about the border wall, a real question of understanding would be, how do you see Trump's border wall idea addressing the complex problems of our immigration system? With a possibility that this person you're talking to might have a good and valid and logical answer that you're going to be curious about, and you're going to try to understand them. What you wouldn't say, a gotcha or a loaded question would be, well, can't you see that the wall is just racist and xenophobic? Not going to be helpful to a conversation to ask a question like that. So again, the point is, if you really want to get to know somebody else and understand them, that's where our work together can happen. It's also helpful to ask the other person how they came to their view of what they believe. So this could be a follow-up question. So if I was a Republican and somebody was advocating Medicare for all, I might say, so I'm really interested to see how you came to believe in a single-payer healthcare system. Can you tell me a story, or do you have an experience of how you came to believe that way? Right? That could be an interesting conversation to have with someone that you don't understand their point of view, right? Or if you're a blue, you might see, well, I really am interested to hear how you came to see the federal government as more of a problem than a solution. And they may have an experience from their past that they'll share with you. And so then it's also really important then to acknowledge the experiences behind the other person's view, especially if it's been kind of a traumatic experience, to acknowledge that in your sense of understanding them. That's the second skill. And then the third skill is to always, when you're talking to people, listen for the underlying values and aspirations and acknowledge them. So if you're talking about immigration on either side of the spectrum, you could say at the end of the person speaking, you could say to them, well, I'm hearing that for you, the value of fairness is the big issue when it comes to immigration. Is that right? So you're going to name the value to the other person. And for a red, that fairness might be related to those who have waited for years to come across the border legally. And you might see that that's how the fairness does or doesn't apply to our current immigration system. And for a blue, you might see the fairness being applied toward the dreamers who were brought here by their parents and who have grown up as an American. So you find some underlying value that is similar, if it's there, right? You don't make it up, but if it's there, you find that value and you name it and you acknowledge it. Those are the places where we're going to be able to work together to find good ways forward as a country and to continue to be loving Christians as we talk to our brothers and sisters who are at different places on the political spectrum as we are. So take these ideas, review them on your PDF, and see if there's somebody in your life that you might want to very gently try these on, and get back to me if you have any experiences or comments or questions that you want to tell me about. And next week, we will come back to you with another video on how to speak in a way in which you could be heard a little bit better. So y'all take care and stay well. Thanks for listening. Bye.